Welcome to the Road is Dead podcast, episode number 100. My name is Rob Curtis. I'm joined today with
Leah, Sanda,
and
Mike Friedman. Finally back.
There we go. We don't have Tim with us today. I think he's got plans going on. And obviously it's been a month since we did the last one. So kind of figured like it was time to just record one and get it out there with whoever we could get together. Obviously summer, early fall, the busy time for everybody for all sorts of reasons. Now we're cruising into cyclocross season. So now is when it's really getting messed up. But that's, you were going to say, you were talking to Special about me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, every now and then.
I wanted to hit record and hear this.
You want to hit record and hear what I have to say?
No,
about
I wanted
what
to
if
hit
it's
record.
not good, Rob?
I hope so. I hope it's not a good thing.
No, it's always about your wheels. It's always about like how good your wheels are. But then he was asking me if I had been on the podcast actually. So I mean, I haven't been. I have no. I don't know when you guys always record because actually I do. But I have. It's been delayed on my end because we've all been busy, just like you said, dude. Everyone's been busy. Yeah. So. It was nothing special, Rob.
So he's special.
It is, yeah.
So by admitting that, he's basically admitting he doesn't listen to the podcast.
I don't know.
So Tim, if you're listening to this, send me a text and tell me you're actually listening to the podcast. Otherwise, I will assume that you don't.
Ooh, challenge.
Nobody give him a heads up. Anyway, nobody out of our 5 listeners, 4 of which are Tim's friends. So no, we have more than 5 listeners. Speaking of which, I had to go and upload a video to my PSIMET YouTube channel. I think everybody's aware that I do have a PSIMET YouTube channel out there. And I did a big push quite a few years back to get enough subscribers and everything else so that I could get monetized. And I remember people contacting me and go, really, what's the point of getting monetized? You're really not going to get anything and this and that. I made the push. You had to have at least 1,000 subscribers and like 1,000 hours watched. And I had hit the 1,000 hours watched like super early because I had really long videos that had a lot of information in them. And then I was pushing to get the 1,000 subscribers. And when I got to the hours watched, I was like, hey, I'm monetized now. And then I looked and it was like, no, you got to have 1,000. I'm like, that'll never happen. I'm not going to worry about that. I've got like 1,700 subscribers, I think, on that now. But anyway, so they monetized it. I got everything all set up. And this is, a couple of years ago or a year or 2 ago?
And you're rolling in it now.
Just rolling in it.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not going to be that much. Well, I gotta say, it's
Was it like $6 you made?
No. It's I'll say multi-hundreds of dollars that I've made off of that channel. So enough that it's not worth throwing away. But at the same time, it's not my first priority when I walk in the door. But I did get a notice. I had been thinking about adding stuff, and I haven't added a single new video since we moved over to this building, and that's going on 3 years now since we moved to this building. So I was like, I need to put one out anyway, and I got some ideas, and I got this email from YouTube, and it basically said, hey, we noticed you haven't put anything on there in a while. If you don't put anything on in the next 30 days, we're going to demonetize your channel. And I was like, you know what? That's it. Got to do something. So I did a video on trailer hangers. So
nice, dude.
If you are interested in trailer hangers and want to know a little bit more, go out to the PSIMET YouTube channel, subscribe to it, watch the video, do all the things that all the kids ask you to do. I mean, I have a lot of really good ideas, and it seems by looking at all the videos that are on YouTube, it seems super easy to produce it well and to do all the subtitles and have the lead-ins and outros and all the placards and do graphics and things like that, because I got all those ideas in my head, but it's me. I don't know how to do that stuff. I really don't know how to do that stuff. And I'm starting to get to the age where I'm realizing that I am no longer the tech savvy kid. I am no longer the guy that grandma wants to have reprogram her phone. I mean, I just dated myself. Who's got a phone, that needs programming? Or teach her how to reset the clock on the VCR. I used to be the go-to guy in my family. I now realize that my 10-year-old is probably the go-to guy in the family now for that kind of stuff. So I don't know how to do any of that stuff. If somebody knows a way to do it and is listening to this and says it's really easy, I will buy you a jar of Enzo's buttonhole shaving cream if you will come over and show me how to do it so that I can make stuff look a little bit nicer. In the meantime, you're just going to have to, forgive me for the low production quality on, and if this production quality is any indication, you should already know what to expect. I mean, it's not horrible. It gets the point across and gets the information across, but it's not exactly polished and highbrow and high end.
It's fine.
Are you talking about the podcast in general?
Sure.
I mean, there is definitely a flow and rate and style that these mega podcasts follow, right? I mean, social
they
media
all follow the
following,
same thing, and they're all
content.
polished.
Yeah, but the content's important. Yeah, they are polished, and we do get long-winded in some topics. But I mean, I've only listened to one episode, so you're making me feel guilty. I don't, I
Good.
probably should listen to more. But there's. Rob, how far do you want to take it? I mean, it really does come down to your followers too. It is an investment of your time.
I like doing it.
Some of the comments are interesting on YouTube. I read a couple just today, actually. But it is an effort.
Yeah, it's an effort. We all go through that period where we go, is it worth it? Is it, this and that? But the reality is, I need this as an outlet just for my own mental health, I think. So, and I like seeing friends. And believe it or not, there's actually quite a few people that do listen to it. And every time I go to a race, people come up and they go, hey, by the way, and I think I've told the stories of sitting out in a bar. And I was sitting there.
Say that. Yeah, you did say the story.
The guy next to me is like, can I see that menu? Oh, you can have this one. It's the least I can do. Thanks for all the podcasts. And it was like, wait,
I'm sorry. Sick.
What? Mm-hmm. So it does happen.
I agree. It was nice to hear your voices when I heard you guys chattering in the background when I got on here. So it's nice to see you all. Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Absolutely. So if we can get back to a semi-regular schedule, that'd be great. If not, hey, you got what you got. We're going on 7-8 years in this podcast, which it's slowly dawning on me that we're actually out there. This is episode 100. So we're vastly underachieving when it comes to timing the podcast sessions, because most podcasts that are this old are in the 400 to 600 episode range. So just as an FYI, so we produce the quality content. That's what we're doing instead of quantity. But along those lines, guess what this Saturday is? You should know, Leah. I've mentioned it.
Schwamigan?
I'm sure Schwamigan is this Saturday.
It is, but okay. What is the Saturday?
14 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I officially got a hold of the state of Illinois and made PSIMET a company. So we are celebrating our official, and I say official because I was building wheels and taking some side cash before that, but not at the level that needed to be reported, just for the record. 14 years ago, we started the company, so it's the 14th anniversary this weekend. And there aren't a lot of companies out there that can say they've been around for 14 years.
How long have I been with you?
That you make it sound too, you're not with me.
No, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
More than 10 years? It's been at least
I want to say
11?
2012.
Yeah. Okay, 11.
Yeah, 11 years. That's what I would guess. Were you in the 2012 season?
I was still working at the bike shop when I started helping out, and that was 2011. So I think I officially came on as an employee that year or the next year. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Anyway.
Long time.
Happy anniversary.
Yep. I think I'm going to go drink.
It's a long time in business, dude. It's a lot of change, a lot of growth, a lot of things learned, a lot of
I like how you say growth. I think that gives me way more credit than I deserve.
Well, have you grown?
I have. I grew up to 255, and now I'm down below 200. So,
Dang, dude.
I've grown and shrunk. yeah, no, you change, and the business has changed quite a bit through the years. There's some things that you take moments like this and you look back and you go, are there things that you wish you would have done or done differently? And yeah, I think there's a part of me that's always been a little bit too conservative, and I've always been kind of a not go all in kind of guy, and diversifying way too much, so that I don't have a singular identity as a business, and that's always kind of affected me, I think, negatively. The people that take the time to get to know what we do are like, yeah, no, this is great. You're like a one-stop shop for everything. But it's hard to explain to people that aren't a part of what we're doing, and that those are customers too. So it's always kind of difficult to explain that. There's a part of me that kind of wishes I took the wheel side, focused on wheels, and went all in, like massive amounts, all in early on.
Yeah,
And
you were in there. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
but I wish I would have even gone more all in.
Boyd is an example, dude. I mean,
we started at the same time.
Yeah. And you guys both have great products. I mean, Tim wouldn't compliment on those wheels if they weren't like, I mean, he rides so hard, and they're still bomb proof, That's a quality product when you have a rider who also races and trained on the trained like crazy on them, and
it's interesting. And this is something that I know I've discussed with Leah over the years and others who will sit and listen. And I've never really put it out in public before, but I'm going to put it out in public now. Because this is a great venue for it, because the people that are listening they already kind of like us anyway, or they absolutely hate me and want cannon fodder for something. I don't know. Who cares?
Go on. Let's hear
it. What I find is really interesting, and it's along the lines of the quality product we produce and put out. What I find really interesting is the wheels last forever. Not forever. I mean, people do break them. They do wear out.
Well, yeah, it really depends what you hit.
Yeah. But, the wheels...
That's a pro and a con.
The wheels last for a very long time. But I've noticed something. Even people that are good friends, when they run them for a very long time, eventually those logos and decals come off the wheels. And they will run them without any tagging that says PSIMET on them. And they'll keep running them for like another, 5-6 years. And it's something that I've noticed. And there are people I know that have left the brand and left us just because they just don't. It's like, it's a small brand.
You need to start carrying stickers, dude, and put them on those wheels.
A lot of it's not because they just fell off or whatever, although that does happen, and that's because, for those that don't know, we don't screen print or pad print or even a lot of times now carbon molds. There's decals that you can put into the mold that are baked into the rim. Excuse me, when they do the final setup and molding and everything else like that. We haven't done those because at least when that comes up, you've got to buy a ton of them. You got to pay for the plates to do them. All those decals have a shelf life, and then once they're baked in, that's what it is. You can't change it.
Well, and being able to customize decals for people is part of our thing.
And it's to our detriment. To our detriment, though, because if we had baked them in, the other part, the reason why I didn't want to bake them in is because I'm like, things change, and our wheels keep going. So when they change and that decal isn't trendy or look good or whatever, it just makes the wheel set seem dated. People will just want to get rid of the wheels. And I was like, instead, we could just bring them in, tear all the decals off, put new ones on, and it'll look brand new, bright, fresh, and look trendy.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, and we do that. We've done that, especially on the cross side, because those wheels a lot of them will just keep on going.
Dude, you got to carry stickers with you, man. You got to do this on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, we do enough of them. What I'm saying is it's not that the stickers kind of wear out or whatever, or they get dated. People just remove them. They just don't.
Mhm.
There's a weird subset of people that almost feel like, okay, I've done my time with PSIMET. I've done my bit. Now I'm moving on. And they'll
Yeah,
still be
and they
running the
still look
wheel
good.
set.
Yeah, they still look good. The wheels look good, right? They look
Right.
good on the bike. So that's the style.
It's
You
just
know?
kind of, I don't know. It's interesting. It's something I want to throw out here, and I don't understand it, but at the same time, maybe I do in some way. It's just like a regular purchasing kind of decision. That people, even if they like what it is, they want to move on after a while. It's almost passe to continue to identify as like a supporter of ours if you've been one of ours in the Chicagoland area, at least. If you've been one of ours for a very long time.
Why didn't you go all in?
Money. Well, because okay, what I was going to try to finish with this was, I wish I had gone all in from the standpoint of I would have had to have gotten an immense amount of money to do it, and then if it didn't fly, then I would have had a hard stop in the ground, and I would have been like, okay, that's it. I'm folding up shop.
Yeah.
It doesn't financially work anymore. We're done. Instead, by quote unquote bootstrapping it, which is what I've done, instead, you've always got this, well, I'm paying my bills, so I guess I can keep doing it tomorrow. So there's never been, I mean, there's times, if I go back and I look at the annuals, there's times where I probably should have called it quits. Luckily, we aren't in those times now. But there are definitely years. And it's strange because, like, I bought a mask, a new respirator today, because my other one broke. And I remember I didn't get one for a lot of years because I just couldn't afford it. I was like, I can't afford to ditch
What kind of mask?
this money on it. Just a 3M respirator with cartridge replacement cartridge
you're
for gluing tubulators.
Tubulators.
Respirator and tubular turned into tubulators.
Tubulators. Are you rolling on the tubulators? Dude, that would be a great name for a tire company. Or just a model.
But I mean, enough about my business. Unless anybody's got any more questions.
No, let's get into the podcast, man.
If you're listening to this and you got questions about my business, you want me to answer them on air. It's been a long time since I have done an industry, and how things work and the mechanics, and I like talking about that stuff.
Actually, it is interesting to hear you talk about it. I mean, it is like I've never really heard the whole history, and with Boyd, I used to race with Boyd. He and I used to travel together when we were kids, teenagers racing. So, like I've always known that, two great wheel manufacturers are both you guys. I've seen both your products. I have not ridden on either of your products. You sent me a pair of track wheels, and I haven't ridden them yet, man. I have a pair of PSIMETs in the garage. But the Boulder Valley Velodrome is open, and
you just got glued new tires on there.
I gotta get.
Did I ever glue tires? I don't think I glued tires on those.
No, I know. I need to get some new tubulators and put them on there.
Yeah, I got a good source. I know a guy that can get you some really nice tubulators.
Yeah,
the really nice ones, the Dugas, and Anyway,
let's see if I don't even think my track bike from the Olympics would fit. That's what I have. I mean, I'm like 3 sizes bigger than I was. I don't know. So I don't even know if I can get into that position anymore. I can't even believe when I hop on it, I even rode in that position.
We're still talking about bikes. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was talking about track bikes. I don't even know how I got on that.
Yeah. No. No, but the beauty about track bikes, I'm going to say this, and obviously, it's tempered. The tech doesn't change. It's a track bike. I'll say that, but that's for 90% of the people doing it. There is the very sharp, pointy edge of track racing where the tech has changed drastically, even within the last few years. If you, Dave Cosell, you should know him.
I know Dave.
He did all the work to come out with that. What Strom is his company now, I think, where they've come out with he's designed a whole new track bike and everything else, and they got it crowdfunded. And there's some good podcasts out there where he's been doing the rounds publicly talking about it, and he's done a good job with that. And that's the pointy end of the tech on it. As far as you're concerned, if you go out to the velodrome again, The one thing that you absolutely have to do now, well, two things. The main thing that you absolutely have to do now is put on aerodynamic socks. That's just, you have to do it. I mean, I hear it's worth 5 watts. So,
Is that better than no socks? Because I thought that was a track thing. No socks.
No, I don't know. Maybe.
It's so gross.
Trackies
I
are
don't know
so
how you don't wear
weird.
socks. They are weird.
I love them, but they're weird.
Yeah, I mean, I was one, but I was also a roadie, and I always thought they were weird.
Yeah.
I mean, they were weird, dude. T-Town was a weird town.
If it helps, trackies always think roadies are weird too. So,
Hey, let's face it, we're all weird.
Oh, yeah. And that's why we feel a kinship with each other.
Yeah. No, I mean, I appreciated that environment, honestly. I learned a lot. It was a great experience in my life.
I really, and I've said this before, but I think that the velodromes and track racing really could be the soccer, Little League baseball of America if there was ever the momentum and the drive to make it, I don't know, to build up the critical mass to it. It's not going to happen, but it would be such an amazing thing. It really is the kind of thing where if you indoctrinate people early in the sport on the track, they'll be fans forever.
I don't disagree with that. It's a great environment. And granted, I'm only familiar with our 2 tracks near Chicago. But just the amount of juniors that are coming out there racing and the amount of support and everything is great.
How many juniors do you have?
We have a lot of people, a lot of kids, juniors from the Kenosha program.
Yeah, I think Kenosha has more.
But they come down a lot.
On a weekly basis. It's usually not a ton, but until we do juniors night, and then it's like, holy crap, where'd all these kids come from? And you'll have like 25, 30 kids show up.
Even my son wants to race junior night.
Well, is that because Kenny gives away $1,000?
Yes. I don't know if you do this.
Kenny's
Mike.
ringing a preem bell pretty much every lap.
The kids go to junior night out there, and Kenny, I don't know if he wants us to disclose all of his secrets, but he has a stockpile that he accumulates over the year, and it's basically cash. And then he talks a lot of, I don't know if he's talking everybody, and everybody wants to be a part of it, but there's a lot of prizes that are also donated by shops and individuals and things like that. So junior night at Northbrook is like, God, it's like if when we were kids, if you got dumped into Toys R Us and they said, hey, you got a shopping spree, you got about an hour, go pick out what you want. That's kind of what it's like. Everyone races and almost everyone walks away with something. I think everyone walks away with something. It's just a matter of how many different things they walk away with. My son, Andrew, is admittedly not a great track racer, but enjoys going out there and doing it, which I love. But the last junior night that he did, he walked away with a pump, like a really nice pump, like 12 water bottles. He got a bunch of gift certificates to local shops, which, sorry, they're not being used, which is also kind of a bonus, I guess, for them, but as a thank you. But that was enough to make him be like, yeah, I think I want to do the junior night. And then something came up this year because it got moved a week, I think, because of rain.
And you obviously you don't have like all of them continue to race every single week, but if you grab the attention of a handful of juniors that then stick with it and grow in the sport, and I think that's what we would all like to see happen. So it'd be nice to see more. It's
an endeavor, right? You have to have the facility, you have to have the equipment, you have to have the coaches, you have to have the funding. Right? You have to have the infrastructure so that you can have that continuation. It's not as simple as just like, oh, let's have a junior, race program.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No,
it's quite an endeavor, and it's interesting to hear that, that it's so strong up there. And it's so interesting how velodromes are, it makes sense because they're only right there and it's, you have to drive to them. It's how community centric they are in terms of the potential ridership, but it's also, how often are they used for there's no big track race series, NCL should have gone after the velodromes and held some sort of track series. You have all these facilities across the country that are rad and diminishing, right? But if you had a track series where you already have the grandstands and you could bring track racing back, that'd be sick.
There have been attempts to do that. Wasn't that what John Vandevelde was trying to get going at one point?
He's done quite a few different things. If I don't know what all he's done, but from what I've heard, I know he's done quite a few different things over the years to try to spur on that culture and community. What I seem to feel like I would love for somebody to give me the information or come on the podcast and talk about it. Is there have been so many efforts to try to build that community. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And every velodrome, their community goes through the ups and downs. And it's 100% a result of who's involved and at what times, in my opinion. So it's like, you get a couple of people that are really enthusiastic, or it just coincides with a period in time in which a couple of people are able to volunteer a lot, or do what they do, or they've just got the right attitude or the right emphasis to put on this, or they can talk the right people into donating time or money or something.
Dude, all of that takes so much effort, right? Even just the volunteer aspect of it, even finding the sponsorship and cultivating those relationships. Like, so much of that, like T-Town had this junior program called Air Products, right? It was Air Products sponsored it. They just paid for it, same kind of deal. And I wonder how it's probably very similar to Kenosha. I mean, and it was a big program. A lot of kids came through that, just like you're saying, but it eventually went defunct, whether that was funding related or staffing, or I don't know why, but it is interesting.
It's interesting how things change, and it really does go with people. So we were trying to explain something the other day to somebody who was interested in joining our team, and we're like, so what do you get when you join a team, that kind of thing. And our common response is you get us being at every race with the tent set up. And the one thing, there are other teams and other clubs out there that have more resources than us. Actually, I would actually say that most of them probably have more resources than us. I don't think people realize how little resources we actually do have, and we get it done. The difference is they don't have one and or two people that are dedicated to the idea that it's default. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be there all day, and we're going to set it up and be there all day. And it's myself. I know Anthony does it quite a bit. I would give you credit, Leah, but you're not that person.
Nice.
It's
not lately. At one point in time, I was.
Yeah, you could go out and you could drag this stuff out for like a day. But I mean, like the series or the week in, week out, every race, no matter the season, that kind of thing, it takes the dedication of a couple key individuals. Yeah. And luckily with us,
and that's hard to do if you're also racing,
right?
Although you also
and I'm not. Well, but I do from time to time. But then again, I always say I race in quotation marks. Race is a very strong word. It's a verb.
And for me, I'm like, well, if my race is at 1:00 and I actually want to take it seriously,
competitive,
getting out there at 6 a.m. and dragging and setting up tents and then sitting around is not conducive to having a good race. So that's what I think a lot of other teams have, is they're all racers. And
right.
Like, well, they don't want to have to burn up all that energy dragging tents and setting them up at the wee hours of the morning and stuff. I get it.
Dude, to me, what you need, though? You know what you need to add to this mix, and you might already have it solved, is a hot cocoa station when it's cold, dude. Then you can just say us and the hot cocoa station.
We used to have coffee.
We have coffee. We used to bring coffee. Yeah. We used to make pour-overs.
That's a big effort, though. That. I mean, just already doing those two things. If you bring the coffee, you got to have the cups, and you got to have creamer, then you got to have sugar, then you got to have the non-dairy creamer, and then you got to have, the non-sugar sugar.
No, we just go out there. We bring our basics, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to drink it. The expression with us is always, no. I'll say no tentatively. We've had really good support from Pactimo over the years, and we've been with Pactimo for many years, and hopefully it's been a really good relationship for both of us. If I look at the back end numbers, it seems like it is. As a result, occasionally we will get because we used to do our race here. Let me point. It's got to be through your head here. Right there, our race jersey, the ones that look like the Coors Classic leaders jerseys, the red ones there. Those, which are copied.
It's
after
hard. It's hard
the
to see
Coors
on my
Classic.
screen here. Let me
Yeah,
make my
always-
screen bigger. There it
they
is.
provided-
Oh yeah.
Pactimo gave us all the leaders' jerseys
As a member of our team, basically,
and the course tape for a long time.
Yeah, and
That's
so
pretty cool.
One of the things that they have done is, because we've gotten rid of that race, is we've been able to take some of that, what was our leaders' jerseys, and move some of it, albeit smaller numbers, into our team jerseys, so that we at least have some sitting around. Now they're the lowest model in their lineup, which means they fit kind of more like a club jersey, that kind of thing. So it's not necessarily like an ideal race jersey for most people, but at least it means we have a couple on hand and they can go with it. But apart from that, no, people buy their own kit. They can buy as much as they want, as little as they want. And it's kind of why I don't give wheels to everybody on the team, is because, I can't expect everybody on my team to ride my wheels unless I'm willing to give them to them.
The only way you can do this is if they pay dues, and then you get a kit when you pay your dues. But that's a whole other thing to manage, because then you got to deal with sizing unless you give them a code or something.
And the thing with dues, I don't have anything against clubs and teams that do dues. It works out well for them. I think it's very key, and it's a very good way of making sure that people are all in or they're all out. So when you get up to a season, you're like, okay, here's a list of people that paid dues. That's our team. We don't really ever have that because we don't have dues. So people are just kind of, it's like people ask, how many people do you have on your team? I don't know. I really don't know. We have hundreds of people that are quote unquote on our team. Some of them, that's why we said you have to race. Well, you don't really have to every year. And, life happens. Sometimes people need to take a break. Doesn't mean I'm kicking them off the team. So we have things that change over the years. So we have like a floating membership. Sometimes a lot of people show up, sometimes not a lot. We'll go to races and somebody will show up that we haven't seen in like 3 years, and they'll show up in a kit. And it's like, hey, how's it going? All right, when's your race? We'll be on the line for you. So dues, I think, are a great way of A, raising money for the club, and B, making people be all in or all out. My problem with dues is kind of like my same problem with not going and borrowing, 7 figures to go all in with this company. It's that, you can gamble on that, but when it doesn't work, it's all over. And so I could sit there and say, yeah, we're going to charge dues, and then we're going to lose people. We're going to lose people because they just don't have the money to pay dues. It doesn't jive with them. It's just enough to make them decide they don't really want to be a part of a club or a team. People are so finicky, and they make all these weird choices for whatever personal reasons that they have. And we're never going to be able to address all of them. So I've always had this philosophy of make it as easy as possible to race. And if they're good people, we want them around, and if they can only race once a year, cool. We'll be there for you. The big thing is when you have, I didn't want it to be, because there are clubs around here that have $multi-$100 dues. And while I think that's great and it gives them a lot of money to be able to do good things with, on our end, I wanted the racers that didn't necessarily have $multi-$100 free that they could dedicate to a club. The ones that can't necessarily afford kit every year. If you've known our kits or club or whatever over the years, we've used the same colors, and it's all kind of interchangeable. And while you can tell a kit is an older kit, you can't necessarily, you can mix and match the pieces, so if somebody can only afford to get a jersey,
do you
I
design
did
them?
for many years, and you can tell which ones I did. They aren't necessarily the best. I'm not a graphic artist. I'm not a design artist in any way, but I did the vast majority of them. Like that leader's jersey I did. I mean, it's all, if you think about it, it's almost like MS Paint, It's like, cool, I'm not an artist. But
our current one was designed by Vinci,
by an artist,
who's an artist.
And she did a stellar job, so much so that she designed it, and we went to that during the pandemic. The 2020 was the season that we were picking that up. We went with it, and we didn't really get a chance to race it, so we're obviously going to keep it for another year. So we did 21, 22. We kept it on for 23, made some changes with sponsors this year. But I'm not in a hurry to change it, you know?
I really like it.
It's a good-looking kit, so, you know, we may have it for another year or two. But the big joke for a long time is I would make style choices and go a direction, and we would get our kit, and then it would turn out that Triple X, a large team here locally, would have almost the same kind of style. I mean, there are some times I look at pictures of Triple X kits, and I'm like, I didn't know we had anybody in that race. So the big joke was the designers that were working over at Triple X would look at me and go, do you want to see what your next kit is going to look like? Because we've already designed ours, which is going to be what your next kit looks like. So, yeah, I've designed ours. I try to do what I can. A lot for the same reason. Artists need to be paid. You know, you can't.
Yes, they do.
You can't expect to get free work from an artist. And I understand that, and I know that, and I agree with that.
So many people don't.
I know, and that's because of the corollary that I'm going to say is I don't have the money to pay an artist most of the time. So as a result, I'm stuck doing crap work myself. And it looks like it. I understand that. I don't get these, you know, super cool design shit, you know, but I know you're looking at this. Like, are we ever going to get to this? So, yeah. So pay your artists. Artists are worth their weight in gold, unfortunately, because sometimes they should. I wish they were worth their weight in bronze. But, you know, that's my own personal financial issues. So let's talk about bike racing. There's a big race going on over in Spain.
The Vuelta.
Vuelta a España. I never watched this race. I got to be honest. I don't think I've ever watched a Vuelta.
I don't think I ever have, and I didn't watch the first part of this, and then I kind of got drawn into all the hullabaloo.
Yeah, the Vuelta obviously is always known as kind of a race that is ill-prepared, isn't really all that exciting, and is at the end of a long season where people just kind of don't care anymore. The race production,
are they known
they
for
always
that?
do a horrible job. What's that?
Really? They?
Oh,
what?
yeah. Yeah. Did you ever race it? You never raced it, did you?
No, I never did the Vuelta, but I mean, I don't. Can we say that? I don't know, dude. I don't
can
know.
say
Is that?
yeah.
I mean, how do we know that? Just based off stuff we read, or what?
Oh, all the feedback that I've heard for years and years and years. And obviously it holds no interest for me, which is, I don't know that that's necessarily saying anything, but to not have any interest in it in the last 30 years, I mean, yeah, it's kind of... So
I hear you there. I don't know if it's I don't know how unsafe it is. I mean, how many people have died at the Vuelta?
Oh no, a lot of people. That's true. I don't know how many people have died, but the riders almost always complain about how poorly they changed. Even this year, I think they changed one of the finishes like on the fly and didn't even tell riders. So that they finished in a different spot.
A problem for sure.
It's stuff like that.
But yeah,
stuff like that. So. But anyway, it's in the news and it's making the rounds and everybody's talking about it. This is like they couldn't have paid for better advertising, and they're talking about it because
Seppkus,
American Seppkus, the just one of the most beautiful riders in the peloton right now. Not just from sheer beauty, although I don't know, he's not my type, is he? You know. But because he is what we love as a rider. And I say we, I mean most cyclists love this kind of rider. And this is the quintessential domestique, the so-and-so underdog, whatever you want to call it. It's the rider that has he is the definition of what we use to explain to other people that this is a team sport instead of an individual sport. So he's always fulfilled that role as to call somebody a domestique now in this day and age isn't necessarily as popular, but we don't really have another word for it. But he is somebody that goes out and works hard and sacrifices his own personal chances sometimes so that he can help and work for the team. He's happy doing that.
And he popped into our awareness a couple of years ago in the tour when he won a stage, correct?
He did win a stage. and also he was on the front of a lot of moves.
And I didn't even know who he was before that. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
American kid, the kid from Durango, I was like researching him and finding out who he was. And now it's like he was always there working.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And tirelessly and with zero complaints, happy to be in that role.
It is interesting to see his progression of his comments through the Vuelta, from, just kind of being in the role to like just yesterday saying, I completely deserve to be in this jersey. Whereas before, it has been interesting, and I agree with you. It has pulled me in as well. I look at it every day.
So it's like it's similar to, if people remember the old Lance era, Hincapie in a way. So Hincapie was always like, oh, he's the domestique, and then he started getting kind of fast at certain times, and people started going, well, maybe he can win it all. Maybe he should be a GC guy. And it's the thing is, when you're really good at being a domestique, it's natural that the discussion then goes to, well, can they be a GC person? Because they're the person that's there at all those moments anyway. Wouldn't it just take a little push to make them a GC contender?
Exactly. Especially when you're doing the work and going back for the bottles and having to ride earlier on. Like, he's always shown the potential for sure. He's always been right there. I mean,
so the energy's there.
Yeah, but also like the race prowess and his ability to thrive at a Grand Tour is there. I mean, bike handling. He's a great mountain biker, and also his ability to climb, dude. He's built for it. He's just as good as those guys, and so much of that comes down to mindset. It'll be really interesting to see what he does in the next couple of years after. Dude, if he wins the Vuelta, it's huge for American cycling.
He's winning the Vuelta. He's going to win the Vuelta.
I agree, dude. I agree. They're working for him. It's super exciting.
They ended up, I mean, like most domestiques, though, it doesn't end up working out for them if they do decide to try to go for GC usually. It's just kind of been this thing, and I think that kind of rubbed off on him. And so for years now, I've said this on the podcast, even last year, we were talking during the tour, I think, and I mentioned Sepp, and I was like, I'd love to see him go and ride GC, because you tend to want to say that when you see a domestique that rides really well. And I know Tim Strzelecki was like, yeah, that's cool, but he's even said himself he has no desire to want to do that. A perfect domestique says, I never want to be a GC guy. But obviously, Jumbo coming into this year, winning, they're going to win all 3 Grand Tours. And Sepp has ridden all 3 Grand Tours. And he's done a lot of, they have 2 other people that have won the Giro and the Tour. And this would be the 3rd Grand Tour, 3 different riders winning it, which would be huge and amazing. So Sepp got himself into the jersey early on. And even early on, he, to your point, Mike, was like, hey, I don't know. We're taking it one day at a time. I'm in the jersey. Mm-hmm. That's nice. I like it. We'll see how it pans out.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, Jonas Vingegaard and Primoz Roglic are also on the team, also Grand Tour winners. And, you couldn't help but feel like this was going to turn around at some point and the jersey was going to get passed on, as Sepp would just fall back into his typical role. Well, as it got closer and closer and closer towards the end, and we start to see that, maybe he could win this thing. A couple days ago, you see Primoz and Jonas attack him. And there's absolutely no reason. Then the whole world goes into an uproar because there's no reason to attack him. There's no reason to leave your teammate who has the jersey. You don't intentionally attack your teammate, number one. Number two, you definitely don't if he's got the jersey. You protect the jersey, even though you're going to win it as a team. So I got a lot of people all in a tizzy and an uproar. Everybody's online yelling insults at everybody and getting really mad. And I've found the reaction to that more interesting, I think, than actually Sepp doing this. Yes, Sepp's doing it. He's going to do it. The moves that were made, I think, were wrong. And there was a ton of fallout from it, to the point where they had a huge meeting in the hotel apparently last night. And it has come out that they're like, okay, we have a public kind of, this is a PR nightmare right now and we need to fix that.
That's amazing.
And so they basically have all kind of towed the line. Today they towed the line and did what they were supposed to do, and it looks like he's going to carry it all the way to the end.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, it's such a.
Rightfully so, yes. But why?
I mean, well, for a number of reasons, like our Roglic. How do you say his name? Roglic.
Sure.
I think
Roglic. And Vingegaard.
Bingo.
Vingegaard to some people.
Vingegaard. Jonas. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Arguably, I mean, they rode away from him. They could keep going, right? They're probably better than Sepp because, I mean, in terms of the Grand Tour winning, that's not the point. They have the jerseys, like you were saying, like defend the jersey. You don't need to attack them. Was it an attack or he was just setting a pace that he couldn't hold?
It was an attack.
It wasn't an attack.
It was an attack.
On the Tourmalet, when Jonas went up the road, it made sense from the standpoint of other teams have to chase him. So that would just be like, when Wout went up the road in the Tour or something. It's like make other teams have to put in the work so that Jumbo could just sit there and follow the wheels. But then they didn't go after him.
Yeah.
So then the question is,
that was okay. It was when they both attacked.
it was the next day when
Yeah.
they both kind of rode away from him.
They rode away from him. They didn't really attack. It was just like
Well,
a
that
pace.
was-
It was almost like, I mean, did they pick up the pace and try to? I don't know that was intentional, or if Sepp just couldn't hold the pace anymore at that point.
The best take I've heard on this, and the one I agree with the most, is the one that said it had nothing to do with Sepp. And what it was
Jonas
and
making sure Yoga
Primoz
didn't go away. Yeah.
have their own rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
And their own rivalry isn't about, who wins what. It's more about who's going to be the leader on this team. And it has way more to do with the Tour than anything else. And if you've got Primoz, who, didn't even race the Tour this year.
Dude, he's not even close to Vinigo. I mean, Vinigo is so dominant. It's crazy.
That's what almost everyone thinks. The problem is Primoz doesn't think that.
Well,
And
but
so
yeah.
Isn't it Primoz looking to leave?
So now
Is
he's
he?
he's looking to move teams,
Yeah.
and I would assume
Really?
he's
I
looking
didn't
to
know
move.
all
Yeah,
this.
I've heard Trek was talking to him, but he's looking to change teams, and if he doesn't change teams, he's looking to know that he's going to be the leader or the person that they look at come Tour time next year. We all know that's not going to be the case. It's going to be Jonas unless something happens to Jonas.
Wasn't Jumbo disbanding at the end of the year or two as a team? Maybe not disbanding,
No.
but looking for another
Don't
sponsor.
believe
No,
so.
No.
I
No.
thought they had to find a new sponsor. I thought Jumbo had
Jumbo's going away, aren't they? Or I don't know. One of their sponsors is going away, but I think they found somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I vaguely remember something like that, but there hasn't been talk about that, and people have been talking about next year. So I would assume that's taken care of at this point. But that idea that they were fighting each other for this idea of who's going to be the leader in the future makes more sense to me than just leaving Sepp.
They could also just want to win. There's definitely that element. I mean,
That's what Primo said.
it's like you have this like pull at you, dude. I mean, you're at this moment. You're faster. You can go. You're better in that situation, and maybe that's true. So you have this internal battle. What's the right thing to do?
But how many times in history has that been the case? And the person attacking, the stronger rider that can ride away from everybody, has been called back.
Like never, dude. It's really interesting.
It's happened all the time.
Where the
Le Mans got 1,000 stories like that.
I see what you're saying. I maybe misunderstood what you're saying. You're saying, and maybe I understood you correctly, that the leader is pulled back to protect the jersey in the past?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's happened a ton. And that's why when all this was going on, you got Rich Smott texting us and going back and forth and going, this is La Vie Claire, from back in the 80s. And almost no one remembers this. When the whole team was split between Bernard Hinault and Greg LeMond. and they had 2 camps even within the team. They had their own cooks. They had their own
Seriously?
domestiques. You know,
Seriously?
it was.
I didn't know this. I didn't know this.
Yeah, Lamond and Hampston were riding together. I don't know if it was Levy Claire, if it was Renault when he was on there, because half the team was for, I think, Fignon, because Fignon was on there too. But Hampston was with him, and Hampston was on his side, and there was like one other guy that was racing with him. The team was split, and the directors were on, I want to say, Fignon's side, and but Greg had to go out and like just literally go against what the director was saying every day in order to ride well.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a long history of this happening, you know, and it's the Americans in us, our American ideology and culture makes us want to go, well, who cares? The fastest person should win.
Yeah, respect the jersey, though. You know, that's the beauty of the
Exactly.
race. Respect the jersey.
These nuances are what separate us from the barbarians. These nuances are what makes cycling great and triathlon stupid.
Nah, triathlon's pretty cool too, man.
It's cool, but it is a competition about who's the fastest.
That's true, because it is an individual time trial through 3 different events. Yes. But in this event, it's a team event, you know, and Sepp has been there so many times helping those guys win Grand Tours, you know, so it is due time to repay that with glory with a Grand Tour win. And he earned those seconds. He was up the road. He earned it. He rode it, you know, I mean,
so how much exciting. Of this uproar is because he's American?
I think that is also really important. I think, you know, the U.S. is, you know, you see in the racing, we talk about it all the time, and there are amazing programs doing amazing things, you know, but it is always good to have that stardom, you know, that it's at that high level, you know. I mean, you know, Sepp is actually someone, you know, like you said, he's got the perfect story. You know, it's not, this is, you know, I mean, even Horner was skeptical, you know, I mean, that's why it was all doubt with that, you know, and it wasn't that, you know, it was, but he did win the Vuelta, you know, and, you know, it's so, yeah, it's a big deal. I don't know, dude.
First American Grand Tour victory since Horner.
Yeah.
And that's been 10, 11 years, something like that.
And it's been in time coming, you know, when the guy who was the young guy who took the jersey ahead of him before he took the jersey over. He was like the youngest 21-year-old. He used to race mountain bikes with his dad or look up at his dad mountain biking or whatever. Sepp did.
In this Vuelta, I would have no idea.
Yeah, it was a 21-year-old kid who took the jersey before Sepp did. And then it just, it's been pretty cool to see the whole, like I said, the mindset change throughout the.
This proves my point, though, is that this is, whatever happens, this is a boon for the Vuelta, because I never would have paid attention to any of this.
For sure. It is, for sure. It's also a boon for American cycling, too. Yeah. I mean, it's surprising we haven't seen it in the news. We haven't seen it in the news anywhere. I haven't seen it in mainstream news. Yeah.
We will when he wins. And it looks like he's going to now, unless something, because it looks like they got reined back, and the management on Jumbo are like, all right, you know, we got a shitstorm here.
Yeah, did you see the interview with Vinigo and Roglic? It's so interesting. There was like fire in Roglic's eyes. It's pretty interesting to see. I mean, it's a battle, dude, but you have to respect the team, dude. I mean, you're not just, it's not all them. That's the thing about these egos. When you start winning these big races, it goes to their head. That's why they want to be the leader. But at the end of the day,
that's the other part of it. Sorry to cut you off, but if Roglic is looking for another team, how much of a liability to another team is he now? If they know, hey, when the chips fall, he may just not toe the line. He's just going to do what he wants to do.
I was just thinking that, you know, because part of me was just like, he might be thinking, well, I'm probably not going to stay with this team anyway, so who cares? I'm just going to race for myself because it just gives me a better bargaining chip for the next team I might go to. Except now you've labeled yourself.
As somebody that does whatever they want to do no matter what.
Well, he didn't do that, though. He didn't do that, though. I mean, even if he leaves, he did come back. He did come back and respect the jersey.
I guess what's going to be interesting to see is what happens tomorrow. Does he continue
yes.
to be
Good
the
point.
team rider, or does he say, "Screw it, this is the last day. I'm going to go against team orders and just play for myself"?
I think he rides it for the team. But I was just going to say, you know, when you were saying the attack, Rob, that they attacked and they kind of just rode away from him. They didn't fully attack. It like rode away from him. Man, they were hauling ass down that descent, and Sepp was hauling ass down that descent to catch, like, to make time. So you're right, dude. It was essentially an attack, dude. If it wasn't an attack, you're not taking risks like that on the descent going into the finish when it's all twisty and narrow like that.
When you have everything tied up, you have the top 3 spots tied up.
Yeah. So why
you're
are
not
those
racing
guys going,
for anything?
Man? Yeah,
and you're racing against each other.
Yeah, and
no one was going to catch him.
And if anything, it was Roglic driving it because he won the stage, right? If they were gonna, if Vinigo was gonna, like, you know, why not? If they were riding for him, why not have him cross first? You know,
and not only that, when they crossed the line, when in the history of this sport have you seen 3 riders on the same team cross the line 1, 2, 3,
sprinting,
and not have a huge celebration right afterwards? Those gentlemen went their 3 different ways.
Well, I think Sepp was relying on them and not sure what they were going to do, and I think the 2 of them, and I think it was driven by Roglic, you know, took off up the road. I mean, who was riding the front when the gap went up? Was it Jonas or Roglic? The Rog.
I think
Jonas, I think. Wasn't it? Or was it Roglic?
I think it was Roglic. I don't know.
Oh, no, yeah, it was Roglic, and Jonas just covered the gap.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, I can understand Primrose, Roglic. I can understand his mindset and struggling with that, but I can also understand the uproar, and rightfully so, to pull that back. And I think it is a lesson to Primrose, but I don't know if PR, we're going to call him PR from now on. You know, it's got to be a lesson. It's got to be a surprise to him that how much, you know, it's like, wow, I can't just, you know, I have to slow down and let, you know, someone that I can beat go to the line. But at the end of the day, it's the team. You're respecting the jersey. Yeah. You don't need to go that fast. It doesn't have to be the fastest guy to the finish.
Yep. Well, you know, this will all be revealed tomorrow.
And how many times this year during the Giro did he tell Sepp to sit up or ease up on the pace?
yeah. Hey, man, ease up. Yeah.
Roglic was not going to win the Giro if Sepp wasn't there. Period.
No, dude, that's the whole benefit. That's the beauty of his. He's like a super domestique.
Yeah.
He's like a super domestique because he's there.
And now he's going to be a Grand Tour winner.
And a Grand Tour winner.
And I don't care, even if it is the Vuelta. You know,
dude, that's a Grand Tour. There was 3. It is equal. They're equal in my eyes, man.
I wouldn't say they're equal.
Okay, fair enough. I'm passion.
But they're definitely they're not the Tour of Switzerland. It's not the what's the one in Britain, the milk race or whatever the hell that. No, that's a 1 day, isn't it?
Or the Tour of Korea. That was a 10-day stage race. That was a good one. Tour of Korea. Yeah. Anyways, it is a big deal, and I'm excited to see what happens. I am, you know, I looked today, you know, at the route and see where things are. And it's nice to see that it was level-ish. You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
for sure.
You know, there's all kinds of internal warfare not warfare. There's all kinds of internal strife over there. You know, even after the meetings, you know that they're all thinking about it. PR is thinking about it.
And they're on the phone with everybody, probably including their agents, trying to figure out what the hell the future is going to maintain or hold.
Yeah, because it's a big deal to be a Grand Tour winner.
Yeah. So
it's exciting.
We've got a couple more things. Well, we should draw this to a close. We'll touch on these pretty quick. But Justin Williams got a 2-month suspension for his shit riding in whatever hell race it was, where he rode the guy straight out of the corner and wrecked them both.
Wasn't it?
Littleton. So, you know, whatever. So, once again,
what do you mean?
Justin Williams.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Once again, Justin Williams. Once again, Legion. Getting cited for unsportsmanlike conduct and dangerous riding. And then has the audacity to point a finger at everybody and say that they're not professionals or they don't ride right and that kind of thing. So, I would say, can I say formally, it's played out. It's done. I mean, come on. stop being a dick. Just race your crits. And if you can't beat people straight up, I understand there's pushing and shoving. That wasn't pushing and shoving, and this is yet another occurrence of not pushing and shoving. Just push and shove, do your regular jumbling. And if you can't beat them straight up, then just admit it and move on. You're still a good rider, and you can still do good things in the sport. That's my 2 cents.
Leah, you're up.
Yeah, what are your 2 cents?
On Justin Williams, I'm glad that they made a point to do an investigation, and that the officials collected all the information and videos from a lot of different angles and testimony, and basically came to and I think made a good decision. And the suspension starts in April next year to coincide with the start of next year's season,
which I think is a good thing. I think they did that right.
I would like to think, I really want him to change his ways a little bit and realize that, he's needs to set a better example, because he's setting a bad example right now.
There you go. It's not, in my opinion, it's not about people either love or hate him. And I like to think that I'm not in either camp. I think he can do a lot of good things for the sport, and I'd like to see him race differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would like to hear what their side of the story is, in all these circumstances, it's like there's a reason that they're happening. They're definitely part of the story. There's another side of the story. He
has put his rationale up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's basically, I didn't do anything wrong. It's just racing. That
is not fucking racing, dude. Damn it. Dang it. I just swore twice. I've been so good the whole podcast not swearing, and 2 of them came out.
We'll give you a pass on 2. And by 2, I mean...
Dude, what he did is so intentional. It's so intentional, man. It's not like, it's like, that's like, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. It's such a bad image for the sport. It's so lame of him. I've known Justin for a long time. I mean, he was coming onto the scene when I was racing on the ADT Event Center in California there, in LA. He has this amazing platform to do amazing stuff with, and they're screwing it up, man. They're screwing it up. I mean, it's like it goes way back for a number of different scenarios, and in this situation, another intentional situation. Hey, Wally, another intentional situation. I think it's too light of a sentence, honestly. Too light of a punishment.
There are people that have said that, yeah, that would agree with you, that have said that he should have had a 6-month or a lifetime or a 1 year.
Not a lifetime, but 6 months would have said something. It's like it's too far across the line.
6 months is a season.
Yeah, well, there you go, a year. It's like it's becoming too much. Like, dude, if I had done anything like that, where you intentionally take someone off the road and then to crash them, it would have been like, dude, 1, I would have been fired from a team right away, and 2, like, I don't know, it just seems crazy that it's just a 2-month suspension at the beginning of the year and a $250 fine for intentionally crashing somebody.
Well, I guess we'll see how that plays out. You let me know. Rally disbanded,
which I'm so bummed about, dude, and I don't understand. I don't understand it, because they have. I do kind of understand it a little bit, but it makes me mad.
What was the main reason? I haven't looked into it. I think maybe I heard about it, or I was not. It was not in my mind when you told me that, and that's something I would typically pay attention to.
Gotten much attention. I mean, I saw it. I saw it. I heard about it early, but not really. It was like a possibility. And then I didn't hear anything until it was made in public, but no one really made a bunch of noise about it. And it's a real shame, because it's a long U.S. running team that has had a huge impact. Sepp went through that program.
Yeah,
I went through that program.
Yep.
It's had a huge impact on the sport of cycling and American cycling, and it comes down to funding from the main sponsor, cutting the funding. But the thing, and putting it towards what it sounds like, a women's pro tour team, which is also awesome. But they're cutting the entire men's squad, which is years in the making. It's like you just cut it, which doesn't make any sense to me. Part of the problem is I think they scaled too fast. I think they went to Europe. They had a great program in the U.S. Racing was declining here in the U.S. a little bit, and the sponsors wanted this European presence. And racing in Europe is hard. You can't just buy your way in, and nobody cares about getting 10th, in a semi-classic. Like, that's great. It's a good result, but like, it doesn't get you the invites to that I think the sponsors needed. I don't know, man. It comes down to funding, and it's a bummer to see them not just scale it back and bring it back to the U.S. At least the core program that was there to continue. It just seems like a waste of 15 years, man.
Yep. Well, it's sad to hear. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm bummed about it.
There was one more thing I was going to hit, but I am going to just touch on this. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but they announced a 750D wheel and tire standard. And I will formally go on the record as saying, so don't spend any money on 750D. And any, I'll be nice, butthead who decides to design a new wheel standard.
What? I haven't heard this.
I hope that somebody pisses on their food before they eat it.
I think it's a gravel invention, right? It's
another bigger wheel.
Yeah,
it's basically it's even bigger, right? So instead of a 700C or 29-inch, we're going to 30.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's the idea being that it rolls fast. It's all the same BS that they were saying about when they went to 29, basically in mountain bike. And to be honest with you, you could have gone with 27.5 and been fine in mountain bike. But whatever, I'm not a mountain biker. You guys can, if you love 29, cool. Then why do we go with 650B? It's like, come on. I heard Josh Portner say something, and I really like what he has to say. And that's that it doesn't fucking matter what wheel size we pick. Just pick one. But stick with it. Because when you don't stick with it, what happens is, well, when you stick with it, all the tire companies have the ability to put all their time, research, energy, and to come up with a wide array of very high quality products that work for that size. When you change it, now you're just taking all that money that they can put into manufacturing, production, R&D, and everything else, and splitting it. And you're just shooting everybody in the foot. There is no quantifiable gain or benefit from adding another standard that does nothing, that has apparently one tire size available for it right now. And now anybody that wants to get into that game tire-wise has to spend all more new money for molds and everything else. And now they got to carry inventory on 2 different tire sizes and everything else. So if you think this is a good idea and you're going out and buying the product, just know that I would love to have a conversation with you sometime and pick your brain apart and figure out what's wrong with it.
We're going to have a conversation about this. Call me. That's funny, dude. It would be funny.
It'll be strongly worded, but that's it.
Well, your opinion, their opinion, I hear you, though. It is annoying.
And toe lap is already bad enough for anybody riding a 54 smaller frame. And now you got a bigger wheel on it.
Now you got to make new size frames, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, whatever.
750D.
Why not 650C? Let's go back to 650C, guys. Anyway. All right, well, that's all I got.
One more thing. I didn't realize this was such an issue, but I have a friend who borrowed one of my bike racks and drove across the country. And she got a ticket in California or Nevada for having a bike rack on that was blocking her license plate. And in Colorado... You don't ever think about it. There's so many bike racks blocking license plates. I mean, it crosses your mind. It's like, man, that's how do you see that? But like, she got a ticket for it, and the officer told her, she's like, well, you don't have to buy the products that are illegal, but it's like honestly the best way to carry the bike. So they actually sell these products knowing that you're actually breaking the law when you have them folded up.
Yeah. So, now it's when you have them folded up. I would be interested. Somebody that knows more about it should write into us, roadisdead@gmail.com. And let us know, is it just when it's folded up? Or if it's
it has
down,
to be, because it's not, when it's, I told her to put it down.
And
you have bikes on it, you still can't see it.
Right.
Now, there are some racks that rack manufacturers actually, you can actually
like a
make
license plate holder
that's detachable. on your car that has a mount then also on the back side of the rack so that you can move it when you
Well,
put your
that's the
rack on.
solution.
But I was like, wow, I've heard of people in Illinois that have gotten pulled over.
I thought
and
you had
ticketed.
gotten pulled over at one point.
No. But I've heard of people that have.
Yeah,
I know
so
people that definitely got pulled
enough
over.
that it's, I was thinking about changing my rack for starting next year anyway, and I was like, I want to find out which racks I can move my license plate on because I don't want to have to worry about that. I stuff all my bikes inside the back of my car, which is now beat to shit because
exactly,
I keep
which is why
stuffing
your
my
racks are
bikes
important.
in
Yeah.
there because I don't want to deal with
You should-
getting.
You should buy a Honda Element.
They
Do
don't
you
make
have-
them
You can just
anymore. They
roll
don't
'em in.
make them anymore.
Does Illinois have front license plates?
Yes.
Yes. Although I think there's been talk of getting rid of that.
So that law is even going
Requirement.
to become more prevalent then in terms of the bike rack thing. It was interesting.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like you have to look across the state laws to see where it's legal, where it's not legal. It's also illegal here, but I think there's just so many people that have bike racks that, it's like,
Yeah, what are they going to do? Pull people over all day long?
yeah,
They don't want
but-
to do their job any more than you do.
so,
Anyway.
um,
No.
anyways,
All right,
yeah,
so good to
check
know.
the-
Thanks
yeah,
for sharing that.
check the
good
laws.
information for everybody. Apart from that, go and check out, get some buttonhole chamois cream. Check out, go and subscribe to us on YouTube if you don't do that already. Subscribe to the podcast, share it on any platform that you have. Get a friend to. Go check out PSIMET on YouTube and pedalingminds.org. Go out and check out the work there. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, Mike. It's good to get back on here, and hopefully we'll get back to you again soon. Until
Okay,
then, enjoy
sounds
the
good.
ride.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys.
Awesome. Thank you much. I got to run.